Hi everyone, welcome to this anti-doping age group webinar. My name is Joanne, I'm from the ITU, I'm Event and Athlete Services Manager, and I'm coordinating ITU's work on age groupers. And this is my colleague Leslie.
Hi there, my name is Leslie Buchanan. I'm the ITU Anti-Doping Director, and I'm really pleased that Joanne has asked me to be in this video with her, and I hope that you'll learn something about anti-doping today.
So we asked you back in end of last year some question on anti-doping that we hope we will be able to clarify in this video. Any more question you would have, don't hesitate to ask us. So Leslie, what's our anti-doping plan for age group races in ITU events?
Well, just in the last few years, we've started to concentrate on testing age groupers at our major events. It hadn't been a priority for us, but it has become clear because of the age groupers asking us for more testing, and definitely our ITU Executive Board have asked for more testing. So we're really focused at our major events, but we could test any athlete at any time. We could knock on somebody's door and show up there. We like to get information so that the tests are intelligent testing. So some athletes, spectators, coaches have actually contacted us through the World Anti-Doping Agency whistleblower program, which is the Speak Up tool that you can access through the triathlon.org anti-doping page, and given us information that we can then act upon and test particular athletes.
Speaking of costs, we said earlier that we are limited in number of tests because of the budget. That is still a really expensive thing to do this test.
It is, but we try to do as many tests as we can. But really what's important is that they're intelligent tests, that there's a reason for the test. We're limited by the budget, as you said, but the amount that the test can cost changes depending on the location of where the test is taken. So the country, what currency you're using, what's being tested within the sample, because you don't necessarily have to test for everything in every sample. If you have to bring the doping control officers on site, if they're from a different city or whatever, I usually try to budget about $1,200 US per test. So it's a big investment, so you've really got to want to make it work.
And the test you would do for an elite athlete would be the same?
It can be, because the risks are the same. That's a really good question. So we might test for steroids or for testosterone or things like that, but that's what I'm talking about with intelligent testing. An elite season might be very different than an age grouper season, and so we might test for different things throughout the year.
Thank you. So this is all linked to this WADA, so the World Anti-Doping Agency, and the prohibited list, which we know, or you might not know, is applicable for all sports. We don't have a specific one for triathlon. We neither have a different list for the age groupers rather than the elite. It's all under this WADA list.
Yeah, and this list is updated every year. So you have to be really aware of what's on that prohibited list, and it's available through our website and through the World Anti-Doping Agency website. You need to be aware, as you can see on your screen, that some substances might be legal in a particular country, like marijuana, but it's still on the prohibited list because it's seen as something that can enhance somebody's performance. So you really got to be careful. Just because it's been made legal in a particular country doesn't mean that now I can take it for performances. But the prohibited list, as I said, is updated annually, so make sure that you know of any changes that have happened. But it is really hard to understand the prohibited list, so an athlete might want to go to a resource to check to see what they're getting. So there are a few different national anti-doping organizations who have websites where you can go to that you can actually input the name of your prescription or name of the over-counter drug that you've taken to see if it's legal in that particular country.
Okay.
Because as you know, there's certain, you might take a cold medicine that might have one ingredient in Switzerland, but not that ingredient in Canada. So you have to be aware of where you're purchasing that particular over-the-counter drug.
Yeah, because also I assume that some doctors might be familiar with the law in their country, but not necessarily in what's the WADA international list.
Yeah, and the doctor might not know that you're an athlete that is subject to testing. So it's really important that when you go visit your doctor and they prescribe you something, or if you buy something over the counter, to tell the pharmacist that you are subject to testing, and so that they can check the prohibited list and maybe hopefully be able to prescribe you something that isn't on the list, but that you will still get the benefits if you're ill of being able to get better, but won't enhance your performance.
What about the supplements?
Supplements give me nightmares. There are so many good, fine athletes out there that are taking supplements and they're not really aware of the risks. And so I'm really glad that Joe of the United States asked this question about supplements, because we have to be really careful, because what's listed on the supplement isn't always the full list of ingredients. Some things are mislabeled. There can be contamination at the site where they manufacture the supplements. So it's best to stay away from supplements, if I can say that, and to get the nutrients that you need by having a healthy diet. But if you need to have supplements, that you take care and you ask your national anti-doping organization if this is a safe drug to take. Sometimes they'll put a stamp on items that have been cleared by them. They've done sample batches and tested for those that particular supplement, and they'll say this is a good one. There's no chance of contamination. But so often we have age groupers and even elites getting sanctioned because they've taken a supplement.
But then as an athlete, your first point of contact, if you have a question, would be your national anti-doping agency?
Yes, and if not, certainly through ITU. My email is on the website under contacts, and they can certainly contact me as well. Yeah, the National Anti-Doping Agency is often the best place to go because I only speak English. And so sometimes I can't read the emails, but I do the best that I can.
Regarding masking agent, we had some question regarding what's happening in this case.
Yeah, a masking agent is something that someone will take that will inhibit us from seeing what else is in the sample. And so it's actually prohibited in and out of competition. And there are some diuretics, which you wouldn't think is going to be a performance-enhancing substance, but in the end, it's used as a masking agent. So it can offer you a sanction if you test positive for it. So it's very important to know everything that you're taking. If you are sick, if there is something that you need to take, you can apply for something that's called a Therapeutic Use Exemption, which short form is a TUE, and there's information on the website about who you apply to for it. Usually it'll be your National Anti-Doping Agency. Sometimes it's ITU, depending on the level of the race that you're doing. And it will have a doctor's note that says, this is the only thing that this person can take for a variety of reasons that because of the condition.
Yeah, this is a common word, this TUE that we hear, but mainly for example, elite athletes in asthma for swimmers.
Yes, yes.
But this is also applicable to age group.
It is. So what we offer for most age group athletes is that they can apply for what's called a retroactive TUE, so they don't think that they're going to get tested. They are taking a particular drug for a condition that they have. They do get tested. It comes up, the sample comes up as being shown for this substance. Then they can apply for a retroactive TUE, which would absolve them of any responsibility. However, they're not guaranteed to receive it. So it's always best to have that TUE in hand, as opposed to relying that the fact that you may be granted one based on information. You really want to make sure that you have it. So that's kind of a last resort, because you could be denied and then the sanction would stay. Also on the slide, it's talking about a B sample. So when you do have a sample taken from you, they actually, when you do it yourself, you combine, you separate the two samples into an A sample and a B sample. And what the lab does is it tests the A sample and keeps the B sample, and then you can always ask for the B sample to be analyzed as well. 99.9% of the time, it confirms what happened in the A sample, but it is something that an athlete has the right to.
And if you do that, would it be at the cost of?
Unfortunately, it's the athlete's cost. They don't actually have to go to the laboratory to see this being analyzed, but they do have the opportunity to, if they would like to, witness that and make sure that no one is tampering with things at the lab.
What about the positive cases we had in 2018?
In 2018, ITU sanctioned 4 athletes. The National Anti-Doping Agency also sanctioned athletes. So out there in the world, there's more athletes that are sanctioned, but we do have a list on our website of the ones that we sanctioned for a variety of different reasons. You can see it. Some age groupers, some elites. So it's very important to be aware of all this knowledge.
And you would say that the majority of those are people who were under doping or drugs on purpose, or more people who didn't realize that they were taking medication that were on the list?
I'd like to think that they did it accidentally, but I can't guarantee that. But in these particular cases, there was enough evidence that showed that the athlete took responsibility and did take a particular substance.
We mentioned it earlier, this TUE and the process to apply for one.
Yeah, it's important enough to mention again, because it is one way that if I don't want people sitting there panicking saying, oh, I have Crohn's disease, I have to take prednisone or whatever, that they can apply.
Is it a complicated process? Or
it isn't really. You need some medical evidence. So you need to go to your doctor and have them to fill it out. And so if you're applying through your National Anti-Doping Agency, you can do it in your language. Otherwise, it has to be done in English or French. But all of the information is up on the website.
Mechanical doping, it's not really anti-doping, it's medical, but can you tell more about this?
Yeah, I like to call it technological fraud. So we don't get mixed up between anti-doping and people who are putting motors in their bikes. Since 2016, ITU has been checking both elite and age group athlete bikes. And we have a whole procedure that we need to go through. It's an interesting process that we inherited through the UCI, the International Federation for Cycling. They created an application that we now use to look for motors in bikes. So it is something that we do check.
Yeah, we have trained, and we are still training technical officials to process these check.
Yeah, so if you see somebody with what looks like an iPad going and looking at your bike, please ask them questions about it, because it is an interesting process. We have not found anyone yet, so hopefully that will be the case, and that nobody is using motors in their bikes. So we'll continue on with that.
We'll finish on some advice for you athletes to make sure you're following these anti-doping rules, and we don't see you in the cases, positive cases for next year.
Yeah, so basically, it comes down to everything that your parents told you growing up. Train hard, right? Eat properly, and ask questions if you don't understand. Anti-doping is very complicated, and there's a lot to think about. So it's better to ask questions and know what you're going into. Familiarize yourself with what you can and cannot take. Be aware of where your food and drink are coming from. That's a really important one. One thing that we didn't touch on in this webinar so far is clenbuterol. And so there are nations where the cattle is fed this prohibited substance. So then you go and have your dinner and you eat this meat, and then it shows up in your system. We can then hopefully find that it's in such minuscule amounts that it was through ingestion the night before your race, but you need to be aware of what you're eating and drinking and what may happen if they show up to have a prohibited substance. So I've really enjoyed this. I hope that you at home have learned something, but we would like to hear more of your questions. We'll try to keep this updated as much as we can, but if there are any updates, we just want you to know that whatever is on the website will supersede this particular webinar. So take that as the gospel in this case. But thank you very much, Joanne, for inviting me.
Thank you, Leslie. Thank you for your help and your collaboration on this webinar, and we really hope that it helps you. And if you have any more questions, just ask.